And it doesn't matter if how it's looked, but there is legit progress. And then for whatever reason, things get pushed back. It's the winter comes and people have to go back to work on a Monday, or things around us, COVID, and we'll see how this is out now over the last 2 or 3 weeks as data will start piling in. But we always see this where there is legit tangible progress to a movement. And then for whatever reason, sometimes it's co-opted, sometimes it's infiltrated, sometimes it just runs out of steam. And we get through this just a setback or two. And what happens is sometimes the setback feels much worse than before. Sometimes the setback is a couple of steps. It's not just one. You're set back to where you were before you even started this thing. And I feel like, and this is unfortunate because I hate to just pin it all on something like Twitter, for example. But Twitter is a major problem in this and a major vehicle to this, where I just am looking at discussions that are had by people who are doing this through their keyboard. There's no type of responsibility you have with your words, especially if you're some egg account. There is no type of truly looking at trying to get the other side to see yours, because you can just rip somebody, mute somebody, or block somebody. And then people realize that you can't do that in real life. But the biggest problem that I see now that's happening and developing as more and more people are frustrated, more and more people are speaking out, is this bar gets set ridiculously low. And Twitter and social media is a huge part of it, will rejoice when you make a step. Yet when you look at the history of moving forward a step, push back 2 steps, moving forward a step, push back 2 steps, move forward 2 steps, get pushed back 2 steps, everything is always either back to where you were or a step before. And sure, some progress lingers, but the majority of what is being protested right now has been around for a while. Hence, people are frustrated, people are upset, and they've got to a point where they need to express it beyond just words. That's where you see it come into action via protest. But man, Twitter will have you believing that a Drew Brees apology or Adrian Peterson saying he's now going to kneel is some major step towards true, fundamental, changing the root of an issue type progress. Yet it's not, because nothing ever gets solved from a root standpoint on social media. It's just back and forth and bickering, and there's no accountability. If you wanted to change, and I've said this locally countless times, even had it during right after the Philando Castile murder again in Minnesota, that we all saw on Facebook Live. Tried to even do this, but people were way more comfortable having these conversations on social media than they were face to face. We invited people, we invited trolls, we invited eggs, we invited people that were just there to talk trash, to derail, or to make some stupid block or charge joke after that 75-year-old guy was pushed down nearly to death by a police officer up in Buffalo. There's no accountability on this website, on these interactions, Facebook. It's all the same. And yes, I know the irony of it that we're broadcasting live on these channels right now. Nothing will ever be fixed on these media sites to the point in which it will be a true root solution. You might be able to get a word out, you might be able to get a video out, but as long as you are not going to truly look at the people who are behind it. Everybody wants to look at the people in front. It's very easy to just block Candace Owens and say, all right, well, that trash is out of my life. I don't need to worry about it anymore. The problem is that you can't block the 24 million people who keep retweeting their stuff. Ingram, Owens, it doesn't matter. We know that they're wrong. And look at Laura Ingram. There is video of her being a hypocrite. Blatant hypocrisy when it comes to LeBron James and Drew Brees. And yet the amount, and this goes back to social media, and it's just so much energy and time and focus on things that won't change. If you truly want to change, and if you truly want it to be less obstructive and less of a roadblock to get from point A to point B, which is point B change, and the right people that you want to see reflected up in public office or wherever it may be, on the radio, wherever it may be, you can't simply get rid of somebody and expect it to die out. And that's, again, a total result of people relying way too much on the Twitter world, way too much on the Facebook. And look, I'm on it a lot, so I'm not saying that it's a terrible, evil thing. I'm saying people are using the technology to rely on things that just aren't real when you leave that app or that site. And we see it countless times. And that's just the latest example of being frustrated when real life doesn't meet what you had expected on social media. Yeah, it's really easy to mute 10 million people who are going to vote again for the current sitting president. Okay. But if you just focus on the symbol, if you just focus on the president or the talk show host or the politician or whoever it is that represents a large base of people that you vehemently disagree with, removing them does not remove the people. Removing one person who represents millions upon millions doesn't do anything at all with those millions who are still there. And that's why Twitter and Facebook and all of the other interactives have become essentially what our political system is, which is a complete lapse of any real short-term memory. And what happens is somebody comes into power. Yes, we got our guy in there. We got our woman in there. Not yet, but maybe. We got our person in there, ideally. 2 years go by, 3 years go by, 4 years go by, legislation, new laws, things start to look good for you, depending on who you is. And then what happens? 4 to 8 years later, somebody new comes in on the other side of the aisle, same building, but other side of the aisle, and completely goes back, strikes stuff, takes stuff off, appeals, repeals, whatever it may be. And all of a sudden, you're back to where you were before not this person, but your person was in office. And we have to start over again. And we're going to have to start over again as well. We're going to have to. I don't know. I just hope and pray that you're seeing some lasting impact. But we've seen mass protests before. We've seen riots before. We've seen hostility between us, the police state. We've seen it. The difference right now is that there could be a major movement to change the perception of things in this country come election day. But the same folks who are pushing and pushing and pushing for change simply and pushing for this, meanwhile, on some sort of surface solution, which is just get rid of the symbol, are going to be awfully disappointed in 4 to 8 years when that returns. And it's going to be somebody new. It's going to be somebody different. It's been that way since the inception, especially of media, but really since newspapers and other forms of media that have been able to bring information and sometimes influence opinion, but ideally bring you the information that you yourself can take in. Of course, now we are so grounded in our worldviews that any information we take in, we just try and really struggle and we just have to fix it and make it fit to our pre-existing world. My goodness, there's no way that COVID numbers could come out devastating as a result of a protest because people are out there protesting for their basic human rights. Well, that doesn't hold up in real life. It gets you a lot of tweets and retweets and likes. It gets you a lot of action from your echo chamber. But in real life, when you remove that sense of comfort and you actually have to deal with people who may not even see things 100% like you do, because that's all a like or a retweet is. Yes, this. And you're just retweeting something that you agree with wholeheartedly. Otherwise, you'd reply or you would just ideally move on. Yet, we can't help ourselves. So, Drew Brees apologizing and now people focusing a ton of energy on that. Adrian Peterson being the latest player who in vogue is saying now, I'll kneel, we'll all kneel. Great. There's nothing wrong with making a statement. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the reaction that troubles me. It's the reaction of Adrian Peterson saying, yes, I'm going to kneel. That is a surface solution. Doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done. It doesn't mean it shouldn't be applied. But clearly, we have seen over the last 2 to 3 years, this is not something that's changing people's minds. So here's where you're at right now. And I'll make this as simple as possible. You're basically left at this point, and social media is a key reminder in what we're doing out here. But you're basically left with two options. And I've been talking about this. I have tape. All right. You can keep the receipts because I've got them from years of talking about this on the radio, on my local shows here in Philadelphia. And I'll continue to push it. But we're at a point right now where you have one of two options. You can either physically fight your opposition. I'm done with it. I've got no more patience. They don't count to me anymore. The only way that I don't even want to change their minds, I'm just going to beat them until they are either submit or I change their minds as a result. That's one way. The other way is to physically sit down, rent a school out or some sort of public building like that, a church or a non-denominational building, synagogue, mosque, wherever. Rent a big building out and fill it and have people there and invite people there. And unfortunately, and this is the problem where people don't want to leave their comfort zones. You know what? You're probably going to have to confront another point of view, including some hate-filled point of views. You might even have to confront bigotry. It's not on you to solve it, but like I'm saying, there are one of two ways really left in this country when it comes to conflict resolution. The first is just force. You don't think like I do. You don't believe like I do. I can't mute you. I can't block you out of my life. Then I'm going to punch it or I'm going to hit you out of it. I'm just going to beat it out of you. The other is physically sitting down side by side, not like a Jerry Springer show, but just sit down face to face. If you want a moderator, that's fine, but to bring people together. And mainly on the side of the people who are fighting for their basic human rights, be able to explain face to face and then have the accountability in check right there to where somebody just can't respond with something bigoted or something ignorant unless they're going to face the consequences of a human being sitting across. There's a big difference. Social media has taken over. That's why we are so surprised when we have to restart and redo things. That's why we are so shocked. Oh, I cannot believe. Are you listening now? No, they haven't been listening. If you are still asking that question on your social media platforms, do you now understand? Are you listening? Then you're talking to the people who already agree with you. I hate to break it to you. I'm not saying that your heart's in the wrong place. I'm not saying your intentions are bad, anything like that. I'm just trying to be as honest as possible with everybody involved in this. And I'm speaking to the side that I believe in and believe way more than the opposite. But I recognize that Twitter and Facebook and these social media platforms have made conversation worse over the last 10 days. Whereas I bet any face-to-face or any accountability that you see by sitting down and actually having a conversation with no threat of being hit over the head by a baton might actually change stuff. NBA is back. What does it mean? We've got new information in the last hour now about how the seeding will work. At Shander Show, twitch.tv/Shander Show is how you get me. 800-224-2000 for UFC tonight. So we've got a lot going on in the world of sports. Had to get that, though, because so much of what we're doing has been set back and will get set back, and you just can't celebrate a re-step. You can't celebrate step one when we've been doing step one for the last 200 years. Wrong show. Eitan Shander at Shander Show. It's SB Nation Radio.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
Tim Brando on Twitter.
You can't say the second level?
On the progressive guest line. People are saying without students
No,
on
I can't.
campus, you can't.
I'm actually.
Football.
We can thank Mark Emmert for.
I actually think I might just because they don't want us to say the network.
Has no jurisdiction really over college
football. I might just keep saying that. To be honest.
Yeah, no problem. Because we uploaded to the second level anyway.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Out
Is
of
there
the
a page? I
financial
didn't realize there
realm
was a
of
page
college
here.
football. It's like the guy in the California.
Yeah, you're.
Did they put my page up?
Yeah, I assume so. Let me double check.
In May, these guys that just want to see their names in print, making bold decisions that they don't have to make, they illustrate what happens with misuse of power. And the real leaders are doing the right things behind the scenes, and then they'll make their splash when the time comes. And I'm telling you, I think that.
Yeah, you have a page. Like
okay.
all of your like weekday shows we get put on here where it's just where the second level is.
Okay.
And so, yeah, your weekend shows go here with your weekday shows.
Got it.
It's 6 Eastern on SB
I
Nation.
might be with you for a little bit. We had they're doing construction on highways coming up here to the gallery area. So John might be a little late,
We're gonna
but I'll also be here.
weekday 6 o'clock. SB Nation Radio. Be here.
Game
Wait, what's
Time
that?
Decisions with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart. Weekdays at 6
Oh, okay.
p.m. Eastern. The Jake Asman Show.
Adam Schefter joining us. How big of an advantage do you have during the football season when you're playing in your fantasy league and you're getting the inside scoop on the injury report before anyone else has?
Not as big as you think. Got to remember one time a head coach, Tim Hasselbeck was playing Matthew Berry. I needed Tim to beat Matthew to make the playoffs. And I had a coach tell me, hey, this wide receiver's going to have a big game today. And I called Tim. I'm like, hey, this guy's on the waiver wire. Go pick him up. And he's like, okay. I said, get him in your lineup today against Matthew. We need a win. And on one of the very first plays of the game, the team threw a long pass to the guy. Guy dropped the pass. Guy was benched, didn't play again. So I always say, the more you know, the less you know. And I found that to be true over and over and over again, where you hear, oh, boy, this guy's a big part of the game plan, or we're planning on featuring this guy. And sometimes it's right, but a lot of times it's not. So when you ask what kind of advantage I have, I say not as big as you think.
The Jake Asman Show. Weekday mornings from 9 to 11 Eastern.
Hey everybody, RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com, your home for the best Dallas Cowboys coverage on the web. And did you know that we have a podcast feed? The Blog of the Boys podcast feed has daily episodes breaking down the latest and greatest in the world of America's team. We have multiple shows, multiple analysts, including a Super Bowl winner. Two-time Super Bowl champion Tony Casillas is part of our rotation, and we want to make sure you are as well. We're available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. So don't miss out. Subscribe to the Blog of the Boys podcast feed today.
This is SB Nation Radio,
and SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Studios. Here's Eitan.
Mike's hot.
So one thing that's out now is the win percentage will determine how the seeding will at least kick off in these 8 games to be played. So I just want to make sure I have this here. And this is from Tim Bontemps, who says it's the NBA determined the order in the standings will be determined by winning percentage. And that decision could play a pivotal role in how the race to take part in potential play-in games for the final playoff spot in the Western Conference plays out, which, of course, this is all about getting Zion Williamson into the postseason. It has nothing to do with appeasing Damian Lillard, has nothing to do with the Blazers, nothing at all. It has everything to do with maintaining a visual of Zion Williamson in the playoffs. So ties will be broken via the typical system, and teams were informed of both decisions. So this will have an impact on those 8 games, those seeding games that will be played at Walt Disney World. The playoffs and the play-in stuff is most likely going to be for the 8 seed. I can't see Washington doing enough to overtake Orlando. But even still, the league chose, as Tim reports, to have each of the 22 teams play 8 of these games, knowing that, of course, the West has more than the East. The final order of the teams won't be determined by how many games they are above or below 500, but instead the team's winning percentage. So if you look at this example, you've got 3 teams right now in the West tied for 9th place. Blazers, Pelicans, and Kings. All right now, 8 games under 500. But here's where it gets tricky. The Blazers played 66 games. The Pelicans and Kings only 64. So Portland is now 1/1000th of a point ahead of both the Pelicans and Kings in winning percentage. So if, in fact, they choose to use these percentages to break ties and stuff, Portland will finish ahead of them, despite even looking at the head-to-head record. Doesn't matter. Grizzlies have played 65 games. They can't finish in a tie with any of those 3 teams closest behind them. So they're trying to make it as simple as possible. And if you look at it, the East would really be the only, I don't even know if this would really work, where the Nets finished tied with Washington for what would be that 9th spot in the play. I just don't know how. They're 6 ahead of Washington. Now, Kevin Durant said he won't play, so we have that. And we'll look a little bit more coming up in 7 minutes as we'll chat. This is looking again at how the NBA is going to do this. Bill Horrenda is going to join us coming up in 7 minutes. But this thing about seeding is really what they'll do in order to try and figure out how they can make these 8 games, these preseason games, if you will, kind of count for something. And to be fair, the NHL did this where you can't drop any lower than 4 if you're a top 4 seed, but you can, if you're a top seed, drop to 4, as low as that, depending on what you do. So there is something here with the NBA that still requires some sort of attention and effort in these games. You don't want to get swept out of the building and go 2-6 in these 8 seeding games. They still have to address what's going to happen with health and safety protocols, how this is going to work out. And we're still waiting for a lot to come in from the last really 2 or 3 weeks when it comes to people just being out and about. But I do enjoy what the NBA has done from a discussion standpoint, because it gives us now, especially these alternatives to home court advantage that haven't been locked in yet. But, you know, there are a couple of things that jump out as actually kind of cool, and maybe you could see it taking over, especially if there's ever playing at a neutral site. And again, I don't know if they'll ever do this again. Major League Baseball is in a position right now where the DH in the National League, that doesn't have to come back. That doesn't need to come back, nor should it. But home court advantage and playing outside of Orlando, that's coming back in the NBA. It's coming back in the NHL, even in baseball. Home field, home ice, it's all coming back. So these little tinkerings, if you will, of everything going on, from just trying to make it a little bit more advantageous. I get it. All right, you want to transport your hardwood home court to Orlando, give you a little bit of a better feel. Makes a little sense. The higher seeded team, 1 foul to be allowed now, 1 player, an extra foul. So you can choose one. If you're the home team, you can designate somebody for an extra foul. And if I'm that team, we talked a little bit about this with Anthony Gilbert yesterday. If I'm that team and I know that I can look at, I don't know, think about it. Like if I'm there, right, and I know that I have one of the better defenders in the NBA, or I have a shot blocker, which is now even more difficult to do. I'm giving my best defender. And maybe if it's my second best defender, but he's a big, like a 5. See, I wouldn't give it to Ben Simmons. He doesn't foul much. I'd give it to Joel Embiid here in Philly. I'd give it to Embiid, and I'd say, just get aggressive, man. 2 fouls in the first half, you're not going to sit. That changes a lot. And if you use it in the proper strategy, you might actually get by. That's actually a pretty key advantage right there. Bill Horrenda next.
Hi, this is Jay Farner.
I'm going to give him a call.
All right.
Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows. So when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 833-8-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
O'Reilly. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get up to a $15 gift card after mail-in rebate when you purchase select Superstart batteries. With high cranking power and reserve capacity, Superstart batteries provide all the power your vehicle demands and more. Turn the key with confidence. Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated text messages. Message and data rates may apply.
Hi, I'm Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. After I left baseball, I just couldn't stay in shape like I used to. Turns out, once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. So I got back into the game.
All right, he's connected.
Oh, thanks.
I'm feeling strong.
And I sent you the text with
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he just wanted me to give you that info because I think he said this is the first time he's ever been on your show.
Yeah.
Text Maine to 321.
I used him with Dave Smith a lot. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
One selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And guys, she'll like the difference too.
Nugenic samples are not available in stores. To get your complimentary bottle, text MAIN to 321321. That's MAIN to 321321.
At Ben Hogan Golf, we manufacture some of the finest golf equipment in the world in our small factory in Fort Worth, Texas. That's because we build each club by hand using the same process Mr. Hogan created when he started his company 65 years ago. We call it micro-manufacturing, no mass production, and no shortcuts. Visit benhogangolf.com to learn more about our tour quality products and factory direct prices.
Turn it up! This is SB Nation Radio,
And SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eitan Shander.
All right, there's a lot of discussion about just the specifics down to just having the sport back and a sense of relief that we get to talk about seeding. We get to talk about all of the storylines. I saw Lakers in 4 trending the second that Adam Silver announced. This thing wasn't even ratified by the Board of Governors yet. So we bring in on the guest line Bill Herenda, at Bill Herenda, who covers all things basketball and has been doing it for a while. NBA contributor, college basketball analyst. I love this on TV shows, SWAT, movies, music videos. I need his agent and his talent, of course, as well. He's the Kings Insider served as well as the Kings Insider on NBC Sports Bay Area and radio as well, iHeart out west. Bill, Eitan Shander's a fellow East Coaster, just a little bit north of Jersey City. It's a pleasure to chat with you and appreciate your time.
Absolutely, Eitan. My pleasure, man. And yeah, we could have been neighbors for all we know. I mean, I went to high school at St. Peter's Prep in Jersey City, grew up in North Bergen, 79th and 5th Avenue. So who knows? Somehow we could even be related. Thanks for having me.
So here's the thing. I was born in the Bronx in City Island, and my dad stayed around until I was 8. My mom moved to Southern Connecticut. And then I'd say about 11 years old, my dad moved to Demarest and worked in Englewood Hospital forever. So Bergen has been home for me on my dad's side for the last 30 years at this point.
Terrific. And I know I'm digressing, but my brother Greg is the head coach at FDU, and they've had a
nice
great run. And so, small world, Eitan, that's for sure.
Oh, that's awesome, Bill. And look, on this show with me, you can digress as much as you want. Trust me, we don't stick to a script. I don't even think we have a script, so feel free. Hey, how excited are you to just have this sport back, especially in the backdrop of they didn't have any crazy perversions. This wasn't like a Caddyshack 2 setup. It just looks like we're going to get regular NBA playoff basketball back, Bill.
Very excited about it, Eitan. With this caveat, however,
yes.
Now, I'm not an epidemiologist, an infectious disease doctor, but safety to me is paramount for everyone involved. And given that, and hopefully, knock wood, we continue to make progress and it's a safe environment, obviously the country needs sports more than ever, not only as a diversion and a distraction and entertainment, but as you know, a few things bring us together like sports, regardless of race, ethnicity, religious beliefs, socioeconomic boundaries. Those things kind of, sports brings us all together. And of course, that's a beautiful thing. And we need that right now more than anything.
So let's look at the health. And I know that it's very difficult, even now, as we're still in the first week, technically, of June, to try and figure out how things will be at the start of August. But the hypothetical that I think everybody's talking about is what happens if a star player, if it's one of the top five, even LeBron, is out because he or somebody contracts COVID. And I guess part of me in the back of my head, Bill, is thinking, well, I wouldn't want anybody at all, no player at all, to contract this and have to sit out and be quarantined. It doesn't look like the NBA would stop. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we went through a playoffs last year without LeBron, and we all made it. We all survived.
Correct, Eitan. And I think from that standpoint, I'm sure, and listen, you've got to commend the NBA for, it seems like they're on the forefront and the cutting edge and being so innovative on a global level. And they've been doing it for so long. So you have to commend them again now. So you've got to think that they have thought this through. And then if, God forbid, someone tests positive, that they've got a contingency plan for that person or persons to take care of them, and then also to ensure the health and safety of someone else. It kind of reminds me of Steve Clifford. Chemistry doesn't happen by accident, the coach of the Orlando Magic. And you don't get to a late game situation and go, oh, what are we going to do now? As Cliff says, you're not operating under that mindset. So here, I'm sure the NBA is prepared for all types of contingencies, hoping that they don't happen.
And nothing would stop, right? They wouldn't delay it. Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, LeBron James, even, and I hate to put a hierarchy on stardom, but I don't know. I can't imagine, and I ask you, I can't imagine, though, Bill, that they would stop outside of just quarantine that one player.
Well, here's where I would say this, Eitan. We did not think that the season would stop, and it did. So this is completely uncharted territory. So I'm reluctant to put a blanket statement out there like they won't stop, because listen, I think I think it's a situation where you hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So as you said, at the top, a lot can change between now and July 31st. So we just have to hope that things continue to improve for everyone. And when it comes to, from my perspective, whoever, it doesn't matter to me if it's a player, coach, trainer, administrative staff, anyone, everyone here has got to be, we've got to be held to the standard of safety being paramount for all. And hopefully we will get through this in a safe fashion. But I wouldn't put the caveat or blanket statement that we will never stop, because it's just so unprecedented that, we just don't know.
No, very fair. And looking at, not from a COVID standpoint, but from a health standpoint, Kevin Durant says he's not going to play. I was kind of hoping a little bit we'd see a little glimpse of Durant and Irving, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case.
And that's understandable. And I, like you, all of us who love the game, we want to see teams at full strength, and we want to see players at full strength. And I get it. Giving this whole milieu is so unprecedented and bizarre. And again, Ethan, when we say safety, we're talking, of course, about COVID, but also the potential for injury. Now, there's always potential for injury, but here you're hoping that guys can, and teams collectively can prepare, get their legs and get going. But yeah, I am disappointed, but I completely understand the decision given the circumstances. And again, hey, listen, only players know their bodies.
Sure.
It's not for me to decide who should play, who should sit out, and why.
Bill Horrenda joining us at Bill Horrenda, NBA contributor, analyst, college analyst as well, actor. We got to talk about that before you get out of here, Bill. I definitely am intrigued at that. But who does this format benefit the most? And I ask this knowing that the NBA is probably the one unique sport where you could play it on Mars and talent is always going to win out. But I am curious if you look at this format, specifically no real home court and how they're playing coming off of this break, if there's any team that you think actually benefits the most.
It is spot on. It is a talent-driven league. It's accountability and chemistry and cohesion. Those are the things that separate teams. And listen, as you know, we have had only 2 NBA champions outside of the top 10 in defensive rating over the last 20 years. So from that standpoint, I look there first. Who is strong defensively? Those 2 champions, by the way, Golden State was 11th in defensive rating in 2018. They have to go all the way back to the Lakers back in 2001. So from that standpoint, I always look defensively, and I think the teams that will benefit from this are teams like Milwaukee, the Lakers, Boston, the Clippers. Those are teams that are in the top 10 in defensive rating. And I think, you know who really scares me here if I'm not on this roster? Toronto. They play hard. We know that's a skill in the league. Nick Nurse is a great tactician, junk in the trunk. He'll throw any defense at you. And in a condensed format, the Raptors are a team that really scares me.
All right, so I have a question, and I'm here in Philadelphia, and I've been in Philly now. I even have the accent. I've been in this city so long. The Sixers, I wonder if you, and I'm just going to use the local example here, Bill, so if you can find another storyline, that's great as well. But Brett Brown, as you know, has been on the hot seat for the last couple of years. Elton Brand now on the hot seat. So I wonder if they get bounced out in the first round, if this COVID delay and everything that happened with this break is actually going to allow a coach on the hot seat or a GM even on the hot seat, or even a player who might be on his way out from a team to stick around, maybe more in a personnel standpoint, because there was this crazy break? Or do you think that it's back to business as normal, right down to if a coach doesn't perform in the playoffs, he's out?
Listen, Ed Norton said this on The Honeymooners. He said, coaching, it ain't all beer and Skittles. And it never is. So from that standpoint, you know, with my brother in the coaching profession and guys like Steve Clifford and Tom Thibodeau, et cetera, I think if every situation is unique, and I think you've got to look at it, if you are Elton Brand, that this is a very funky situation, but I think you're going to make decisions based upon the best scenario for your franchise, where you're at now and where you can forecast out a little bit. So I don't think that I do think a strong performance over the summer, yes, that can preserve you. I think it can. Can it doom you? Perhaps. But listen, you may have had one foot on a banana peel and one foot in the grave to begin with.
Right.
Let's be honest, right? This is a very tough business. So I think most scenarios will be looked upon here with a slant towards the long term, is my opinion. But each situation is unique. Like Boylan in Chicago, I played against him in college. I hate talking about jobs that aren't open, but we can't be like an ostrich with our head buried in the sand. Ed Norton had it right. This is a tough business.
Absolutely. Anytime you can quote Ed Norton in a segment, this is a success, my friend. I promise you. All right, so I'm curious. Before the COVID break, before everything stopped and the world just took a pause, did you in your mind and heart, Bill, believe that Milwaukee could beat either of the 2 LA teams in a 7-game series? And if so, has that changed since this whole break?
I believe that they can. I'm a believer. It's like being from Missouri, right? Show me. The Bucks have not shown us that yet, but I believe that they can. And there really isn't anything that's changed, in my opinion, that says that they can't. And I do think that for teams like Milwaukee, Toronto, I was amazed at what a great job, Vogel and the staff and the Lakers players, how they coalesced so well. So I think those teams that have that defensive foundation are at a distinct advantage because, in my opinion, you're going to get the opportunity opportunity to reset those defensive principles, they may stick and be a little bit longer lasting here. And I think offense tends to come a little bit slower. So I think those teams have an advantage. And I do think that Milwaukee does have a shot here. There's nothing that changes my mind. But like I said, Toronto is a team that I really am intrigued by, and I would be nervous if I was playing against them.
All right, so I'm very curious, as you've done a lot on TV beyond just sports, be it NBC Sports Bay Area or anything that might be filmed or streamed from iHeart. SWAT on CBS stands alone. You've done TV and commercials, but what I'm truly intrigued about, the music video element of your life, Bill. Is there anything like what videos were you in? Oh, did we lose you?
Yeah, we lost him.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Man, I guess he didn't want to talk about that, huh? Was it like a rat video or who would it be?
It was, I was saying, what if it's like in the country music genre that he's just ashamed of?
Yeah, he's been as far as a Northeasterner. I don't know. Maybe it was a Bruce. He's from Jersey. Maybe it was Bruce. Maybe he was in a Bruce Springsteen video. Music videos, like multiple. That's what I need to see. He has to have an IMDb page, right? He does. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's worth a Google. I'll check
No.
that out.
He does. He does. Wow. Okay. This is amazing. So he was in Spring Breakaway as the minister and SWAT. Now, these are movies. So I don't know where I'd be able to find his, like, is there an IMDb for music videos? Probably not, right? Look at Bill, man. This is pretty cool. I'm looking at his demo reel right now, and it has different shots and like clips of him. SWAT on the B Team episode. It looks like there's a basketball scene that he's calling it. Oh, this is really cool. All right. So I'm looking at this right now. I'm looking at the scene. So this is SWAT. If you watch that show, I don't, but I'm familiar with it. Meaning I couldn't tell you, like plot lines, but I'm familiar with the show. So there's some badge versus badge. It looks like it's the fire department versus the police department playing this outdoor basketball game. And Bill is going up and down. All right, I'm going to get to this when we get back because Bill is going up and down the court, broadcasting it with this little mic. And it reminds me a lot of the And One videos. All right, we'll wrap the hour next here on the second level.
Wait, clear. His phone overheated.
Oh, it's totally cool,
we
man.
all agree, right?
Hey, do you want to have him back in the next hour? Y'all can talk about it, or
No, that's okay. I do want to have him back though, like soon. So maybe we can have him back in like a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks. Or
I'm
so.
Elon Musk's kid. You tell me.
Maybe not this week, coming up, but next.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely want to have him back on. It's fine. You just tell him that we ran out.
You might know my dad,
But
as
he was
the
really
super
good, really good.
brilliant
Thank
billionaire
you.
scientist. I know him as
Yeah, like when
unpronounceable.
he and Dave, they go off on just random tangents about stuff other than sports all the time.
Oh, is that right? Nice.
So I figured, like, he would be kind of a good guy for you because you're not really a stick to sports kind of guy either.
Yeah, that's great.
Dad, I'm gonna go smoke and drink and drive a car at 10. Bye.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron.
He's calling back right now. If you want to end the segment with him,
Do we have time?
I can take out an ad.
Yeah, okay.
Want to make Dak the second highest paid quarterback in the league. Dak wants to make the most money. Essentially, every guy in the league that's a quarterback's making somewhere between 25 and 35 million. Aren't they all making fat money? And aren't they all the eventual demise? These contracts with quarterbacks, the demise of football teams. When you have to pay one guy that much money, it breaks up the team.
Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Pharrell. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. Into the night.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man, no matter what they're paying him at TNT,
It's not
it
enough.
ain't enough. The great Charles Barkley. Chuck, you said it earlier. Shaq said it. They shouldn't bother to even finish this season. Do you still believe it? I know you said that they are going to play. Do you still believe that it's not worth playing?
Listen, I'm 100% sure they're going to play, just from what I'm hearing from my people, but I just don't know how it's going to be safe. I really don't. I would hate for something bad to happen, and I would hate to see one of the stars get hurt and they lose in the first round or second round of the playoffs to an inferior team. Let me tell you something. You can have 100 players on a team in the NBA.
All right, he's back.
Giannis, LeBron, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. It don't matter about those other 99. That's the thing that scares me. If Giannis gets sick and has to miss the first round of the playoffs, the Milwaukee Bucks are not going to win. They're out. That wouldn't be fair at all.
Into the Night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern. This is SB Nation Radio,
And SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eitan Schick.
We lost Bill, but we got him back, and it's a little tight. We've got about 90 seconds or so, Bill, and I was just so curious about the music video element of your life. We were looking at that SWAT clip where you were going up and down in the court calling the game, but what music videos were you in?
Oh, you know, his kids turned out fine with ASAP Rocky 8 times.
Yes! How in the world are you in an ASAP Rocky video? That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's just like, listen, if you hang out in LA enough, and that's one of these guys. I just hung out in the gym and I got into these games, and it's the same thing with the acting. You hang around long enough and they just pick you. They say, hey, you, let's go. Don't even worry about the script. It's like being on your show. Let's just go with it. So I'm just a lucky guy.
That is amazing, man. And that scene where you were calling the game, it looked like it was the fire department versus the police department. It reminded me of an and one game where you're going up and down the court calling it out.
Yes, it was awesome. And, Eric Dickerson, James Harrison, Willie McGinnis, some ex-NFL guys are in that episode. And there's a scene later with an arm wrestling situation as well in that same episode. So it was a lot of fun. Those guys were real class act. Shamar Moore, Kenny Johnson, the cast as well. Great people.
Bill, you're a great guy, and I can't thank you enough for the time. Let's do this again real soon. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Anytime.
You got it. That's Bill Herenda at Bill Herenda. Great job, Jack. First hour. We're back coming up more on the NBA and some baseball as well.
Clear.
Nice, man. Thank you.
Hey, not a problem, Eitan. John's here now, so
okay.
I'll send you your hour and I'll talk to you tomorrow, okay?
All right, brother. I'll be right back. Thank you.
Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to tips on keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you. If you love cars, trucks, and SUVs, and the amazing technology hitting your favorite showroom, check out the brand new AutomotiveMap.com. Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to tips on keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you. If you love cars, trucks, and SUVs, and the amazing technology hitting your favorite showroom, check out the brand new AutomotiveMap.com. The second level.
The first, and I can't get it out of my head, Tony's Fauci is awful. I've heard Tony do other impressions. I've heard him do voices, if you will. And they're all great. They're all on the level. But I don't know. There's something about that Fauci that's really off. This is the dueling Faucis here.
That the idea of having treatments available to facilitate the reentry of students into the fall term would be something that would be a bit of a bridge too far.
Or
we may never be able to shake hands ever again. It's more like if you have two people in a room, it's better if one of them leaves.
Tony's Fauci sounds like what the real Fauci would sound like if he were yelling. The real Fauci sounds like he's been yelling at the president for the last 8 hours.
The second level, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. The second level.
The first, and I can't get it out of my head, Tony's Fauci is awful. I've heard Tony do other impressions. I've heard him do voices, if you will. And they're all great. They're all on the level. But I don't know. There's something about that Fauci that's really off.
This is the dueling Faucis here.
That the idea of having treatments available to facilitate the reentry of students into the fall term would be something that would be a bit of a bridge too far.
Or
we may never be able to shake hands ever again. It's more like if you have two people in a room, it's better if one of them leaves.
Tony's Fauci sounds like what the real Fauci would sound like if he were yelling. The real Fauci sounds like he's been yelling at the president for the last 8 hours.
The Second Level, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Into the night.
You think LeBron, if he wins a title on October 12th, is going to be ready to go back to training camp less than a month later?
No.
And then start the season on December 1st? Hell no.
No.
Hey, LeBron, you just won another championship. What are you going to do? I ain't doing nothing. I got to be back in work in 3 weeks.
Right.
I can't even go to Disney World. I've been here since frickin' July.
Into the Night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern. Into the Night.
You think LeBron, if he wins a title on October 12th, is going to be ready to go back to training camp less than a month later?
No.
And then start the season on December 1st? Hell no.
No.
Hey, LeBron, you just won another championship. What are you going to do? I ain't doing nothing. I got to be back in work in 3 weeks.
Right.
I can't even go to Disney World. I've been here since frickin' July.
Into the Night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern. Into the Night.
Here with Phil Simms into the night. All right, Phil, where's the 30 for 30 on Phil Simms and Bill Parcells?
No, the whole
and
Parcells era with the Giants
exactly.
would be fascinating.
How can that not be a 30 for 30, Bill?
Well, one, it's a new world or an old world back then, so there's not video much of anything, and especially our interactions during practice. So his favorite, I always say this, played under Bill Parcells for 8 years. Of course, we had great success. And when he retired, I had to come home and check my birth certificate to see if my first name began with a P or an F. Because for 8 years, I was F and Sims. F and Sims. F and Sims. It just never ended.
Well, you can spell Phil with an F, depending.
Well, I guess you can. Yeah. One of my teammates once said, you should just write FS like Lawrence Taylor does LT. And I go, what? Excuse me, what'd you say? He goes, FS. I said, I thought I heard you say that.
Into the Night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern. Pharrell.
I like hearing the Bundesliga players chirping and the coaches yelling, even though I can't understand a word they're saying in German. I took 1 year of German in high school, and it didn't work out so well for me, the whole German thing. I didn't do well with their language. But I can say, Guten Tag, bitte schön, auf Wiedersehen.
Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Pharrell. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern.
My name is Megan Eddings, founder and CEO of Excel Lifestyle. Research shows that wearing a face mask drastically reduces the spread of the coronavirus. Excel Lifestyle's Prima antibacterial face masks are soft, washable, and double layer for added protection. To purchase you and your loved one's face mask, please go to excellifestyle.com. That's ACCEL lifestyle.com. Once we receive your order, we will ship your masks out immediately. Thank you and stay safe.
This is SB Nation Radio. SB Nation Radio.
And SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Loans. Rocket Mortgage is with you every step of the way. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's a
second hour underway here at Shander Shows. How you follow on Twitter. Now, see, this is the problem. Bill Herenda had a fantastic segment. His phone overheated. He called immediately back. We ended the hour with him. He doesn't need to apologize on Twitter. At Bill Herenda is how you could follow him. And I suggest you take a look at that clip of him on SWAT. And now we need to find the ASAP. Man, it's been a day. We need to find the ASAP Rocky video that he's in because this is insane. Here I am thinking, well, we've got the show on Twitch, so we've got a little visual of it. And Bill's hanging out with ASAP, everybody else, too, on the SWAT set. No need to apologize, man. We appreciate you rolling with us and some very good insight in the NBA from Bill. Now, this hour, We're going to chat with the best in Scott Miller. There's a lot going on, including a lot of frustration. Frustration that baseball isn't back, frustration that baseball doesn't seem to have a plan to be back, and frustration that baseball isn't really doing much. So if, in fact, you want to look at baseball and be frustrated simply because they're not coming back yet, or because they can't get anything together yet, or because, and we'll talk with this about Scott coming up at 7:40 Eastern time tonight, they can't get on the same page about coming back. So how can they be on the same page about making a social statement like it seems everybody else, from league to corporation to blue check mark, regarding this, even if they've said something that has been taken the opposite? You know, we went from canceling Drew Brees to now J.K. Rowling, it looks like. Man, I tell you, social media is such a fascinating, fantastic, and troubling insight into the mind, knowing, of course, that there is very, if any, accountability for even challenging a statement, because you could just mute that person. And then you see the people that you mute out in the real world doing stuff that you muted. Wait a second, I muted you. How could you be? How could you still be a bigot? How could you still be doing this, that? It's madness. Not as crazy, though, as this latest statement that the Major League Baseball Association wants to pass by you. We'll get to that coming up next.
What's up, Bayton?
Yo, what's up?
Just message and data rates may apply.
Hey, what you got besides Scott for this tweet?
Baseball, I just couldn't stay in shape like I used to. Turns out, once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. So I got back into the game with Nugenics. I'm feeling stronger with a lot more energy and drive. You want to get back into shape? Get Nugenics. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Frank's right. Just text MAINE to 321-321 to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the number one selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And guys?
Okay, cool.
Too.
Nugenic samples are...
So you like Bill, huh?
Get your complimentary bottle. Text MAINE to 321-321. That's MAIN to 321-321.
The final season of inventory is happening now at Copperleaf. Experience the finest in traditional Western living and great outdoor recreation with your gorgeous 1 to 3 plus acre mountainside home site, priced from only $79.9. Plus, for a limited time, pay no closing costs. This spectacular mountain paradise offers pristine Rocky Mountain views, private access to the historic Shoshone River for incredible blue ribbon trout fishing, a prime location next to the entrance of Yellowstone Park for hiking, sightseeing, and nature walks, plus modern amenities including central water and sewer, underground electric, and more. During your private Copperleaf tour, you can choose to drive your own vehicle or take advantage of our safe and sanitary tour options. Call 866-935-2636 and ask how to take a live video tour of your beautiful 1 to 3 plus acre mountainside home site, priced from only $79.9 at Copperleaf. Don't wait. 866-935-2636 to take a live video tour of Copperleaf, or visit copperleafwyoming.com.
O'Reilly. This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're going on a trip, but where are you going to stay? How much will it cost? Well, it'll cost less by booking on besthotelrates.com. BestHotelRates.com works with all the top hotels in the country while delivering you great hotel and room choices for the best prices. Why wait? Go to BestHotelRates.com, enter your email address, and start shopping for your next hotel room. BestHotelRates.com, it's in the name. BestHotelRates.com.
This is SB Nation Radio,
and SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eitan Shen.
So I am seeing something that I do find fascinating, and I don't know, and I don't think we know. In fact, I know we don't know yet. But what's happened is both sides of this awful, poisonous political coin that runs our country has politicized two things. So now when you go to the trap that's social media, of course, you're going to fall right in line. The two things that have been politicized, which really shouldn't be, one is a virus, and we're seeing the ramifications of what happens when you politicize a virus now specifically. And the other thing that's been politicized for decades, if not a century and a half, is a fight for basic human rights. So what happens now is those two things get conflated, and you have people actually arguing back and forth. Like, think about how warped your mind is to back one and not the other, and use something neutral like a virus that doesn't give a damn what political party you subscribe to or how long your hair gets, or unfortunately, if you're out of work or not, doesn't care. And there are plenty of people out there, and I understand their frustration. We just don't know enough. There isn't enough data to answer this, but we are still socially distancing here. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. In Philadelphia, all you see on the news are hundreds of thousands, it looks like, maybe, of people, maybe 100,000 people, or probably less than that. I don't know what they capped it at, but my guess is somewhere 75, 80. Mass group of people together. And how many times are you seeing this on Twitter where somebody raises an argument, an actual solid point, which is, we were told less than 2 weeks ago. In fact, media went out. Remember that guy on the beach? Is that guy out and about still? Where is the death guy from the Florida beach? Where is that lawyer from the Florida beach who wore a death suit up and down the beach to shame people to go back? And look, if you've heard me at all over the last 7-8 days, because I've been on every single day, then you know exactly where I stand on protesting. You know exactly where I stand on a fight for a basic human right, like to survive a police interaction. That should be something that's just given, and it's not for a lot of people in this country. So we brought on voices and gave them the platform, and you'll hear them again in the next hour if you missed both Xavier Pope and Robert Littal. It's not anything, and I don't subscribe to your politics. Whatever your politics are, I promise you I don't subscribe to it. But I do recognize hypocrisy when I see it. And I do understand that just getting out and just getting back to the beach, or just getting your hair cut, or just getting back to a restaurant has a different cause than standing alongside your fellow citizen times 50,000 and pushing for social change. But we're talking about something that doesn't care. It doesn't care if you're a protester, if you're a rioter, if you're a looter, if you're a police officer. It doesn't care. Doesn't care where you are out and about. So I'm looking at more and more of these tweets, and I'll just read one for you. And I always have to look at the bio, because what happens is, again, when something is politicized, it's looked at, and then the other side, a point is raised, or it's looked at, and then somebody says something about it, and the other side will try and figure you out. Well, let's look at his bio. Who does he work for? Was he ever a politician? What paper, what outlet does he work for? Oh, okay, that's a right-wing rag right there. Oh, that's a liberal rag right there. You can't trust him. The point that they're making is just reinforcing what everybody else in that party thinks, and that's what you get. So you can't make a general statement that is neutral about the growing threat and concern regarding people protesting, because the people protesting will say, well, what do you got against us and our message? And they'll try and pin you as somebody who is anti-protest, much like people who were out and about protesting the right to be out and about, if it was filling up a government building in Michigan or simply just saying, screw this, I'm going to the beach. Same principle. Same exact principle applies. Nothing changes. It doesn't matter in the virus eyes. Nothing changes. So when I look at this and try to look at it from an objective point of view, how can you not at the very least understand somebody? And I'm reading this tweet. I don't even know if this guy's real or not. It was retweeted into my timeline. Stephen Grayson. My kids are still out of school, and I've still not been able to have a memorial service for my dad who died over 2 months ago because social distancing was supposedly just so damn important. I feel like I can't stress that enough, as he quote tweets a GIF of thousands upon thousands of people in Philadelphia. And the problem now is you're not going to get an objective answer unless you find a doctor. And the doctor, the answer that you get is, we just don't know yet. But you look at the media, for example, who specifically was telling you the last 2 weeks before George Floyd was murdered that if you were out and about, you were basically ruining it for the rest of us. You were running risk of killing us all, and it was a major problem to be at a restaurant, to be at a beach, to be on the boardwalk. Again, you had the lawyer in the death suit. Now you have those same outlets highlighting, focusing, and propping up protesters. Again, I can't stress this enough. Me, Eitan, I can't stress this enough. I am as pro-protest, the message that they're putting out, if it's helping and cash-apping some people who are down there to buy water for others, if it's using my platform, writing about it locally in Philadelphia, getting any message I can to people who look like me or don't look like me, I don't care, just talking about it in a positive light, explaining the difference between what a protester is and what an infiltrator is, who usually ends up as a rioter/looter, talking at length about areas in Philadelphia, poor socio-demographic areas that have been devastated by rioting and looting by a lot of people who don't look like and know they don't live in that area. So that doesn't change my point of view, which is the coverage of this thing, this COVID-19, for so long was to the point in which it was identifying and shaming somebody out and about. And look, there was an obvious one where people were beyond livid that their group of people would take guns to to a government building and try and influence policy that way. The point of it is that it should all be covered equally. Yet we know that that's impossible because now, and this is why something gets politicized and the ramifications of it. Now what happens is anybody who is propping up the protests because of the message, yet was guilty of attacking and vilifying people out and about early, it sends a conflicted message. But the people who are out and about early and now recognize what I'm saying, and then make this further state, well, you can't trust anything they put out. That's what happens. And we just go around and around. But it's not a circle. See, a lot of people think that we go around and around in a circle. It's not. It's actually something that's digging. It just happens to be a circular dig. So what happens with us is we get into these conversations, we get trapped, and we go around and around, except we're digging deeper and deeper and deeper. We're not just dancing at the top. It goes deeper, like a spiral, if you will, into the ground. So not only have we been going around and around, and you're exhausted by it, but we've dug deeper on our sides. We're even further entrenched now on what and how we believe. It is fascinating to me that there is nothing from any type of objective point of view that can speak to it, because you're either wrapped up in the hypocrisy of it or you're defending the hypocrisy. And the hypocrisy goes both ways. Absolutely. And I have enough talking to a doctor each week to know that the COVID-19 lockdown wasn't a fraud, but you have to understand that there are a lot of people out there that believe that. They believe it not because people are allowed to protest or are physically protesting, but the reaction to it is far different than the people who are grouped together for different reasons. But again, we don't think objectively. We can't. It's impossible. We've removed that. I don't even know if there was ever a case in which you could, but I can tell you this. There is a gigantic mag light. If you're familiar with those gigantic flashlights, you can use them as a club. Some of them, they're huge. we've shined a mag light on how bad of a problem it is, objectivity. But it would be nice to get some sort of medical thread, some sort of medical piece of objectivity on the dangers of what we're seeing. Because you don't want that on Twitter. You can't come out and criticize it. You can't, because you'll be placed on the side and the group of the people who are criticizing the protesting and the message by the protesting. Different, right? It's different to raise awareness and say, hold on a second. We were all inundated with news after news after news piece about how dangerous and deadly it is to be outside. Anchors were working from home. From home. You had TV stations that were basically one person, weather, sports. Everybody else is at home. I was doing hits on the local Fox 29 here in Philadelphia. I've been doing them for 2.5 months at home, no studio, at home. And yet you see this, and it's not even being raised as a concern. So from a sports standpoint, I don't know what to think right now. Before all of this came out, I was looking hard at the Memorial Day stuff. I know there was that party in the Ozark. One person tests positive. Florida, on the other hand, numbers are going up. Texas looks like numbers are going up. They are going to go up in areas and patches. It's going to happen. And this is what I talked to and made sure that I spoke with a medical professional about this before I came on the air with you. You're not a doc. No, I just happen to come from two. There are going to be patches when you reopen. We've seen this all over the world. When you reopen and you come from a period of closure to reopening, you are going to see not spikes, but you are going to see an increase in cases. You are going to see some people who are now going to feel a little sick and go to the hospital and test positive for COVID. We saw that Alabama football practice where at least 5 players tested positive from a workout on Wednesday. A little sick, not feeling well. Let's go get tested. Or it may just be in your line of work or your job that you have to get tested. Whatever it may be. And maybe you weren't sick beforehand. You were asymptomatic, but this time you have a cold. You're not a doctor. You can't tell the difference of you being asymptomatic for the last 10 days and now you having a cold, which is completely different. But you go, you get tested, you still have it, you're positive. Okay, it comes up. That's not always happening, but that is an example. Just because you see numbers going up in areas, and you have to look, you have to ask questions. You won't get the data unless you ask for it. Okay, numbers went up. Texas, for example, they've been pretty liberal as far as opening back up. Where are the numbers going up? Are they consistent? No. Okay, they're not. Some areas, higher density population than others. Makes sense. You've got more people there. Now, is it spreading or is it simply isolated where you have patches of people in these high density populations? Oh, it's not spreading. It's just isolated incidents. All right. Where are you finding, if there are any deaths, where are they? Well, nursing home got hit hard on a wave, and unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to a bunch of people. What percentage is that in the deaths versus people that are out and about? Hospitalizations versus discharge. Key number. A key number that you should always be. Somebody puts this out on Twitter. Hospitalizations are. What about discharges? Where are we with testing? That's another question that you don't get answers to. Are we at a point right now in the country, and I think it's both from talking to a couple of doctors, where we are not testing enough and people feel like they don't need to get tested anymore? Remember, there was, whatever happened to that argument? We need more tests. We need more tests. We need more tests. Well, I get it. We do need more tests. And at some point, we got more tests. But we also saw people reluctant to go out and get tested. That's a bad combination. Scott Miller is going to join us coming up in 14 minutes. What's wrong with baseball outside of just not being on the field? We'll talk about that coming up next on the set.
Wake up call. Hammerhead bat. Never heard about it.
Hammerhead bat. This is pure nightmare fuel.
All right. What is that? Why is this the first time I've ever heard of it?
That's a small dog with wings attached to it.
We should have known about this the second this was discovered.
Mosquitoes can't possibly feed this thing. What is
Not
it?
at all. No, I don't know what it eats.
If it doesn't eat humans, what exactly does
Yeah,
it
it
eat?
eats anything it wants to eat.
Right. No kidding. My God, that looks like Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, now, you know what? I'm sorry to do this when you're battling insomnia because I know you're not sleeping now. Yeah, no, this thing is out there.
I totally.
My bad.
Oh, my
Should have
God.
saved it for after you came back and said, you know what? I got a good night's sleep.
yeah.
Right?
No.
Oh, well, I got a story for you then.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Game time decisions.
I'm Gabriel Morency, inviting you to join me and the Raging Redhead, Cam Stewart, weekdays at 6 Eastern on SB Nation Radio, the loudest station in the nation. No games, no problem. We've got your back. Weekdays at 6. We throw it down. Best bets, props. If they're playing, we'll find a number on it. Bring it. Weekdays at 6. SB Nation Radio, game time decisions.
Game time decisions with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart. Weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
Colin Kaepernick lost his job because he stood for something that made people uncomfortable. What happened was a complete and total character assassination of Colin Kaepernick and a corrupting of the message he was trying to push to muddy the waters so much that no one really understood what he was doing and why he was doing it. So my question to the NFL, this coming year, will you allow the next Colin Kaepernick? The NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, the NBA, they're all saying the right things right now. But what happens when somebody makes you uncomfortable? What happens the next time somebody does something to bring to light a topic that makes you uncomfortable and that you feel is bad for business? What do? Do you listen or do you kick them out because you kicked out Colin Kaepernick?
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Wake up call! One of the things I do like about Rodgers that is not like other quarterbacks in this league, and even veterans in this league who tend to not speak their mind, Rodgers speaks his mind. He's going to probably have a lot to say about this organization not meeting the needs of a 13-3 team that was a win away from the Super Bowl.
So, gone are the days of RELAX.
Yeah, I think so.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. This is SB Nation Radio.
And SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here,
Mike's hot.
Scott Miller is going to join us in 10 minutes. And Major League Baseball right now is not doing enough by any means to ensure the fans, the diehards, that they care about them. I mean, if I'm another league right now, I would just go out and pull in anybody that's left. Is there anybody that's truly left that's undecided when it comes to any type of league or sport? Are you actually undecided? I mean, NASCAR, I don't watch I'm not against NASCAR. I don't watch NASCAR. I've made a decision now. I have recently because I'm trying to win some money. UFC, a sport that I watch, but I can't tell you that I'm deep into it to the point where I know fight history and tendencies and, well, this guy's a grappler, not a, I will before I bet on something, but I'm still watching it. I feel like baseball I've made outside of just having to reluctantly here in Philadelphia. Don't tell anybody. In Philadelphia. I feel like there are fewer and fewer people who are undecided and even diehards when it comes to it. And I describe a diehard as I'm watching my baseball team first, no matter what else is on, no matter what other league or sporting event is on, I'm watching my baseball team first. You're a diehard baseball fan, according to me. That would be my definition. And if you're a diehard fan right now and you live in a market that has multiple teams, not just a baseball team, I'd be tempted to put something out, a banner or something else. Now, I know inter-city, inter-squad stuff is not necessarily looked highly upon, and you don't want to create any type of rift. Maybe you just do it as a league. If I'm the NHL, that's where you can really make headway. NBA, no. NBA is a juggernaut, man. Don't even get me started on the NFL. We know that they just rate. I always love it. Like the NFL did whatever the hell they wanted over the last 3 years. They banned Kaepernick. They banned people from kneeling. They did all of that. Trump got involved. Celebrities got involved. Everybody got involved. And all the NFL did was finish 1, 2, and 3 for the most watched television show last year. That's it. That's all they did. And in fact, Thursday night has now overtaken Monday night. Monday night, is a staple. Monday night, is the heritage, if you will. Sunday night is an absolute monster. Thursday night as well. Yes, I would love for the NFL to be a beacon of change and be and live the change that they talk about. But I also know that I shouldn't, nor should you, be looking at the NFL as a moral compass on anything. Because it doesn't matter. Because they were doing things that were shady or immoral, and it didn't matter. So looking at them and demanding change for somebody that's like, nah. Maybe like if, I went to the doctor and I could lose, 10 pounds, probably a little longer, maybe 15 pounds. And people are telling me, look, you should lose 10 pounds. Really, you should lose 10 pounds. Health issues. And the doctor, I come back from the doctor says, you're fine, man. Do whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. You're fine. Those 10 pounds in, they'll come off. Don't worry about it. You've been reinforced, right? You've got ammunition. I'll eat that moon pie if I want it. Get out of here. Late night snack and all that other stuff. You're good. Got a blank check. You can do whatever the hell you want. It's been reinforced. And now, if I am the NHL, NFL doesn't need that. NBA doesn't need that. I'm taking a swing. I'm taking a shot. And I'm not jabbing. I'm not dancing around. I'm coming right in with an uppercut. Major League Baseball doesn't care about you. The NHL does. That would be an ad campaign. I'd build it around. You get Flo. You get anything. Geico, the Lizard. You get anybody you want. Shoot, we could get Bill Horrenda back. He's been in commercials. We could have Bill star in this, right? And now all of a sudden the NHL is taking shots at Major League Baseball. And I guarantee you, because this is the world that we live in now, where if you take shots, then it's going to pay off. Well, now all of a sudden you've got something that's even, honestly, in my opinion at least, will benefit the NHL even more. Will bring more people to the NHL. And that baseball, when they begin, is most likely going to start ahead of the NHL anyway. So you can kind of pollute the waters. And I get on it now. Major League Baseball seems like they're far behind in everything, including what Scott's going to join us and talk a little bit about coming up, and that's statements about social issues. The NHL has been more visible than Major League Baseball. The NHL has been more competent, and I don't know if they've been looked at as, terribly incompetent, but right now they look like they've got their stuff together. They have top players coming out in big markets, making statements, supporting protests, supporting the fight for basic human rights. A lot of that. And baseball, unfortunately, is just wrapped up in its own fight, its own bubble right now that I don't even know how cognizant they are of the damage that they're doing. I really don't. Man. Crowds keep growing. The tweets keep coming in. You keep trying to cancel symbols. You keep trying to take away and cut some snake off at its head. And the problem, of course, is that one head goes and it's filled by the voice of 20 million people. And it's just easier to go back to your own echo chamber and reinforce that those people are wrong than really doing anything else. It's a shame, but it's kind of where we are. All right, coming up, Scott Miller is going to join us all over the world of baseball. Some serious things we have to chat with Scott about coming up next. At Shander Show, for me, it's the second level.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows. So when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. And MLS number 3030.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Generic Sildenafil allows you to save up to $650 on Viagra. Why pay name brand prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get the same results for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 50 generic Sildenafil pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $750 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill for the name brand again. Get generic Sildenafil for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-450-5582 today and save up to $650 and get 50 pills for just $99. Generic Sildenafil is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting to take your call now. Call 800-450-5582. That's 800-450-5582. Again, 800-450-5582.
Attention all timeshare owners. Is this what you'd like to do with your timeshare contract? Do you own a timeshare and just want out? Thousands of timeshare owners are getting out of their timeshare contracts. With the help of Timeshare Compliance, Timeshare Compliance can legally terminate, tear up, shred, eliminate, trash your timeshare agreement, ending your payments forever, saving you thousands. So whether you're a victim of a high-pressure, dishonest sales agent, or you were misled with what you were buying, or you overpaid and they underdelivered, call Timeshare Compliance.
All right, Scott's on for you.
Consultation. With one simple call, the trusted professionals at Timeshare Compliance can legally rip up your timeshare agreement and help rip up your financial suffering. You could save thousands. Call now before another payment is due. Timeshare Compliance is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Call 800-718-2963. 800-718-2963. 800-718-2963.
This is SB Nation Radio,
And SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's
Mike's up.
All right, we're going to head out to the guest line and continue our conversation about what's going on and specifically wrong with Major League Baseball. It'll take a good turn as we bring in one of the best here, Scott Miller. Of course, that's Scott Miller, BBL, columnist for Bleacher Report, Turner Sports. You can hear him on SiriusXM, MLB Network Radio, and Fox Sports San Diego as well. The book, 90% Mental, is out, soft cover as well. And the latest is a piece on Bleacher Report where we can begin, is titled, Once a Leader of Social Justice, MLB is Now Embarrassingly Behind the Times. We bring in the great Scott Miller, Eitan Shander. Thanks as always, Scott, for your time. Hope you are well.
Hey, Tom, thank you. My pleasure. Healthy. Hope the same for you. It's been a rough spring and a rough summer, both pandemic-wise and culture-wise and baseball-wise, and this week only got worse.
It did. You're definitely right on that. And let's start with the issue right now that is definitely captivating the country, and rightfully so. How is Major League Baseball embarrassingly behind the times when it comes to social justice, Scott?
Yeah, well, a couple things. One, this week, as after the murder of George Floyd by the Minneapolis police in Minneapolis, And by the way, it's heartbreaking. I lived in Minneapolis. I used to cover the Twins in the 90s. That city's close to my heart. Just horrific. But after that, obviously the Black Lives Matter protests start, the protesting against inequality, racial injustice, police brutality, all of it. And, baseball ends up being the last of the four major sports in this country to issue any kind of statement, whatsoever. I mean, even the NHL was a couple of days ahead of times. And I mean, that might seem like a small thing to some people, but, come on. I mean, you're the sport of Jackie Robinson. And as Bud Selig, the former commissioner, used to say, going back decades, baseball has a social responsibility. It's a social institution. And, through times, even including during World War II, they played baseball. And baseball was at the forefront of all kinds of things in this country. And to be last, and, as I wrote, the thing is, I mean, Jackie Robinson breaking the color line, one of the proudest moments, and baseball rightfully should applaud that moment. I mean, baseball at that time, was among the leaders in the country. Jackie Robinson in social justice and doing what's right. And Jackie Robinson, broke the color line in 1947. I mean, that was almost 2 decades in front of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Baseball was way ahead. And now here we are. And as I wrote, it's not 1947 anymore. I mean, sure, rightfully, the game is proud of Jackie Robinson, and Jackie Robinson should be celebrated with everything baseball has today. But at the same time, as I said, it's not 1947. It's 2020. While you celebrate Jackie Robinson, there comes a place and time when you need to progress along with the rest of society, and you need to continue to be a leader in progress. And, I know I talked in this column, a number of the black players in the game were furious that their sport, and by the way, their declining percentage, the black players in the game as of opening day last year were down to 7.7% of the percentage of the population. It was like 68 of 882 players on opening day rosters. There were 68 blacks. And, that's a whole other issue. I mean, granted, way back in Jackie Robinson's day, the NFL wasn't around. The NBA wasn't even invented for another 2 more years. So baseball's been losing great athletes to other sports, but still, you can't be the last sport to come out and take a stand.
How much of it, and I'm not asking, and I know you would never provide a justification, more of a reasoning. How much of it do you think is grounded in there just being so much of a gap between the two sides coming back to baseball that it just seems so fragmented right now in that sport? And again, it's not a justification by any means, and I know you're not going to provide one. I just need to say that out there for people listening.
No, you're exactly right. And I mean, it's there. Yes. I mean, it is a legitimate fact that baseball owners and players have had a really tough time this summer since spring training shut down, and they've had to negotiate some things to get the game back on the field, and they can't agree on much of anything. So baseball would like to come back in early July, and if that's going to be the case, there's going to have to be spring training beginning around June 10th to 15th, somewhere in that range. Obviously, what's today, June 6th? If baseball is going to come back when they want it to, hope to, there's going to have to be an agreement between the players and owners in the next 4 or 5 days, and we're nowhere near an agreement. And clearly, when all of these protests just exploded all over the country this past weekend, and it came time for people to take a stand, both individuals and corporations, and that's what we're talking about when the NFL, the NHL, NBA, baseball is one of the last sports to take a stand. Granted, baseball had its hands full because the owners and the players were continuing to try to figure something out, a path forward to get the game on the field this summer. So, yes, baseball's had a ton on its plate coming at it right now, really going back to the World Series last year when, you remember we had the Houston Astros assistant general manager that was fired in the middle of the World Series after ending the playoffs. He yelled at the female reporters in the Astros clubhouse. And, then you had the Astros cheating scandal break over the winter, and then you had there's been all kinds of stuff. There's no question. And now here we are with this. So just the past week it's been a tough time for baseball. There's no question on multiple levels.
Is there anything that a 48 game or less than 82, is there anything like that you think will be met with a positive response, or do you think it'll just be, all right, they salvage the season, get out there, play? And I know people will be happy to see the sport, but probably more disappointed that they'll only get 48 or 54 games.
I think there can still be a positive response. I mean, look, I still hold out hope that the owners and players are going to reach an agreement. And, it might not be for another week or two or three. There are a couple thoughts here. One, based on the current state of affairs and the agreement they reached on the initial agreement they reached when spring training was suspended, Commissioner Rob Manfred has the power to unilaterally, if there's a disagreement between the players and owners, they can't come to any sort of agreement. Manfred has a power to unilaterally order the game back to the field. So he's threatened, and that's where you hear lately about a 50-game season. He's threatened to say, okay, fine, if we reach an impasse, the season's going to be 50 games long, and then we'll have a postseason, and we'll get in, we'll get out. They're also worried owners don't want to play the postseason into November because they're worried about a second wave of the coronavirus coming through. So they want to, and plus the TV contract calls for all these games in October. And obviously that's where a lot of their baseball money is, in the postseason TV contract. If they push postseason back to November, December, they got to renegotiate all that. Plus, they're worried about the second wave of the pandemic. So the owners want to get a season played. They want the postseason in October, and they want to get done by even if it bleeds a little bit into November. They want to be done by the first few days of November. So Manfred has unilateral power to order something to happen. So what we're going to see, Eitan, in the next 2 to 3 weeks is one of a couple things. Either they're all going to come to their senses and they're going to realize there's upheaval in the country, there's a pandemic, there's a ridiculous amount of people on unemployment, there's pain everywhere. We better get our house in order, make an agreement. We'll both suck it up. Maybe it's not an agreement we both like, but we'll figure it out. We'll get back on the field. That's scenario one. Scenario two is they don't figure it out. Then is Manfred going to order unilaterally, we're going to play? Now, there's some people that think he might not, and they might just say, forget it. We couldn't reach an agreement with the players. We're just not going to have any baseball this year. I still find that would be a nuclear option, especially ahead of the negotiations they're going to have to do for the next basic agreement, which is up after the 2021 season. So in order, where I'm at, I think both sides are going to realize we're losing a ton of money.
Yep.
If we come to an agreement, we at least can both sides get a little bit of that money back. So I think in their own self-interests, despite all the rhetoric back and forth, even if it takes another 2 weeks, I think they're going to come to an agreement. And the season's going to be somewhere between 60 and 82 games, and then we'll have a postseason. And, it could go either way right now, though. And if I'm wrong, then the next thing is going to be very interesting to see if Manfred unilaterally orders them to the field or if he says, just forget it.
Scott, do you think that there's any possibility they go back and forth and realize that even in half a season is going to be unrealistic, that they could put a 48 to 68 type regular season into some World Baseball Classic, into some form of a tournament that would also serve to crown a champion as well? Or are they just hell-bent on some semblance of a regular season, even if it's for the optics?
I think they try to do some semblance of a regular season, but everything's on the table right now, Eitan, and I think there is definitely a possibility that, there could be, if they can't agree in the next 2-3 weeks, and then they continue to talk a little bit, there could be a last-ditch, look, we're going to take 5 weeks or 6 weeks and play as you say, like a World Baseball Classic type of tournament. And by that, I don't mean Italy playing against Team Mexico. And I mean, it would still be the major league teams, like the Cardinals and the Tigers and the Los Angeles Dodgers, but it would be a tournament type format. I mean, that has been looked at as well. And I think that is, I don't think that's plan A, B, or C, but it could be plan D or E.
Scott Miller joining us. And again, the piece out on Bleacher Report, it's a must read. Once a leader of social justice, MLB is now embarrassingly behind the times. And I do want to come back to this and ask, and I'm not expecting, like I wouldn't expect the NFL or any other major sports league to solve the issues, the deep rooted seated issues that we have in our society. But do you anticipate something once the season resumes? Is it more players kneeling? Is it something that Major League Baseball may do to bring awareness? And I don't even know if there's a specific in your mind, Scott. I'm just wondering if you and your colleagues may have come up with something that would make sense as far as a hypothetical turning into real once this sport returns.
I don't have anything in mind in terms of like what I would suggest or what baseball or what I know they've talked about. I don't know if they've talked about anything. I think, though, a couple of things. One, whatever they do, I think it's going to be well thought out. And whatever move is made, it can't be just window dressing. You don't want to go out and make some knee-jerk move just to make it look good. Like, hey, we're trying on social justice, whatever it's done, it's got to be something authentic. And, for that, I think we've heard so many people say this week, and I agree with, that we all need to listen. And I think baseball could go a long way by listening to its black players and saying, look, there's significant issues right now in our country. What are you guys? Tell us your stories and tell us how we can help. That kind of thing, I think, could be constructive. And they could work in concert with the black players to, whatever it is to help move the game forward. On a level where we're at right now, one area, baseball's tried to improve its percentage of black players in the game. They do run an RBI program called Reviving Baseball in the Inner Cities. They've worked hard at that. They have a Dream Series in Tempe, Arizona, where they, in the wintertime, where they bring in some major league players and former major league players to coach, and they bring in players from underprivileged or however you want to say it, poor areas and to instruct them and help them. So there are some things in motion right now, but it still needs to be more. One thing that I found interesting, the NFL has been part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Get to that break.
Opinions over the past several years, over the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. Now, I found it, again, things are going so quick right now. Just last 48 hours, it was interesting, Drew Brees saying what he said about, I will never abide not respecting the flag. Then he got all that blowback. And then yesterday, not only did Drew Brees come out and even in a social media post addressed the president, saying, look, I've listened to some of my teammates and I've come to open my mind more and I understand better. And then Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, yesterday, the NFL came out and said we were wrong about Kaepernick and about our.
We got to get to the break.
Scott,
baseball right now is just had one guy. You got to go.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I do, but I'm just sitting. I've lost track of time because I'm just sitting back listening. I'm so sorry, but I have to break. Thank you so much, Scott. I just pumped the piece out again on Twitter as well.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
You got it. Scott Miller will wrap the hour next.
To the night.
Sorry.
The great Pat McAfee, an award-winning sports reporter, former punter, joins us now. Pat, I read that you said that you have no shot of being part of.
Hey.
Is that official or is that?
Will you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Will you switch over to the other the Comrex as well?
Yep. It's not letting me in. Hold on. Yeah, it won't let me in.
My people, I was basically told.
Try now.
Because it's boost again.
Yeah, okay.
And whenever you're a punter, that's not.
There was a bot on it.
within a prestigious one, shall we say. So I think I've been told.
Yeah, we can record that middle segment if you want to during the first interview.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah, it's up to you.
And then I could just go?
Yeah, and let me just time it out. Make sure.
My man.
Yeah, and then you can just get out of here.
Oh, thank you.
Weeknights at 10 Eastern.
I didn't even think of that, but that is lovely.
Yeah, I just have to.
Just tell me the times that you need.
Yeah, for the last little segment, I only need 35 seconds because the
Perfect.
interview's real long.
Perfect.
Because of Vegas and because of that stadium. And
Well, if
the
you only need
amount of events
35,
that
I might be
happen
able to
there
do
and
it all
Super
in that
Bowls
6
and
minute,
Final
right?
Fours and everything else.
Yeah, that'd be no issues.
Well, you just tell me though what you need for the
Pharrell,
middle
coast to
segment,
coast.
and then I could do them together if you think.
For sure. Let me add it up real quick.
Awesome.
Wake up call.
We know Major League Baseball is trying to get back, but eventually it will, and eventually minor league baseball will be back. And if you are a minor league team in need of a change of identity, would you go with Murder Hornets?
I think it's a fantastic idea.
Kind of like with a hat, with a Murder Hornet hat on it, maybe going through some letter or something, like if you're Chattanooga, you got a C on it, and a Murder Hornet blasting through.
A Murder Hornet mascot running through the stadium.
Wouldn't it be cool if you have like a race between a bee and a Murder Hornet? Like, everybody, now let's go to the outfield where Harry the Murder Hornet is going to be running against a couple of bees. And you get the fans dressed up as bees, and they're running, and if they can outrun the Murder Hornet, they get a prize pack. But if the Murder Hornet catches them, unfortunately, he's got to rip their head off.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings.
If business, pleasure, or sports fandom takes you to Houston, Dallas, Austin, Fort Worth, or San Antonio, check out CultureMap.com to get the scoop on the local favorites. From the best restaurants, bars, pubs, and clubs to the biggest sights and sounds each city has to offer, Culture Map has it all. Just head over to CultureMap.com. The expert team personally reviews and visits each spot to make sure you get the best experience. And if you're coming back, sign up for free Culture Map updates at CultureMap.com.
This is SB Nation Radio,
And SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly.
All right, final hour coming up. I want you to hear from two very big, important voices on what's happening around our country. It's a double dose of our weekend replay, and it starts coming up in 15 minutes. Also, there's a story about a haircut that you need to hear. One of the most expensive haircuts you'll hear.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're
I was
good.
doing my math, and I was like, oh, shit, I should have done the rejoin. But
No, you're fine, man. Totally cool.
Game time decisions.
What's up,
All
everybody?
right, let me get my commercial flipped. I'll put you in there, and we'll get started on it.
Join me and the Raging Redhead.
Oh, we got to do the. Okay. You want to just do it during the interview?
It's game time.
You tell me.
Because we can switch right now, but we won't have enough time to do both. We'll only have enough time to do the little 30-second one. If we do the little first segment of the hour, then we can spend the whole interview just knocking out that.
Okay.
little segment.
How much time do you need for the other segment?
6 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay, so 7 minutes total. That's fine.
About seven minutes, a little over 7 minutes total.
Gotcha. Musician sounds like with Beethoven underneath me ranting and raving about MLBs. You better go full right now, heavy into the tournament. That's the only thing you can do to salvage this selfish offseason that you've had, to salvage any type of positive PR back from the fans. And don't just expect because it's on TV, people will watch. You can't go George Costanza in that meeting with the NBC president of.
This is a great promo, buddy.
Thanks, man. That's why people are watching. Ron did it.
Yeah, it's good.
Cathartic, hopefully, for you out there. It was great for me. It does feel therapeutic, I think, but only because of the classical music. I don't know if it would work with any other type of music.
The Second Level, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
Wake up call.
It's really weird how gambling is now embraced, and everyone acts like they never hated it or bothered by it before.
You know what else is getting that same love? Weed.
Same thing.
For years it was taboo, and now we're getting to that point like, It's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad. Same thing with gambling.
Wish my state would legalize it.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of people doing this. Okay, all right, well,
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
I want to talk about baseball and the money conversation. What's going on?
I think I'm allergic to lemon.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that later, okay? Madeline, I'm on the air, kiddo. I can't talk right now, okay? We'll talk later, okay? Hold on. Just stay right.
All right, we're going to do the double dose of the replay of the week. What's that middle segment going to be about?
The most expensive haircut.
Okay.
Yes, now.
Yes, now. Please, just say hi, and then you can be gone, okay?
I'm on the radio now.
You're on the radio now. That microphone's on. You're on the radio now.
Hi, bye.
Those are headphones. Yes, you do. So, yeah, that's my life now, okay? I'm getting interrupted doing national radio with a 5-year-old running in and out, okay? Thanks, hon. Appreciate it. I'll come talk to you during the commercial break. Oh, boy. Okay.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Into the night.
Bruce Arians, head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Coach, how did the whole Tom Brady thing come together for you?
We did our due diligence, and all the guys that were expected to possibly be in the free agency, we broke them all down. And, he was at the top of our list. And then when he decided to leave, we made the phone call, and he and I hit it off pretty good and started working on contracts. And he was interviewing me as hard as I was interviewing him.
Into the night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern. Into the night.
Now imagine how pissed off Bryce Harper must have been while he's playing Fortnite with the bros. And he gets dropped in. All of a sudden, his computer beeps, and you have a new message.
Right. Incoming email.
Incoming email from the commissioner. And then he says, bros, I got to stop the Fortnite, man. I'm kicking ass here. I got to put down my joysticks. Brah. By the way, that's Snell Bra, man. That dude, that's my boy right there. And he's got to read a 67-page report, Harry.
There's no way Snell Bra made it to page 3. Okay? Let's be real.
Snell Bra probably opened the first page and said, screw this.
He's not getting paid $7 million to read this.
Hell no. 67 pages. You got to pay me double what I was supposed to get.
Then I'm getting taxed?
It's just not worth it, man. It's just not worth it.
I mean, I'm only getting paid to read 20 pages of it.
Into the night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern. Pharrell.
Coast to coast! You know SB Nation's taking over the world, right?
Why, of course.
It's Pharrell here from Sports Grid. Here's what happened. They signed Pharrell Coast to Coast and Morency Game Time Decisions, put it on from 4 to 7 East, and then everybody else in our path. What we're doing is we're destroying them.
Total, complete, absolute annihilation.
And it's a lot of fun.
This is going to be good.
Pharrell.
Coast to coast! You know SB Nation's taking over the world, right?
Why, of course.
It's Pharrell here from Sports Grid. Here's what happened. They signed Pharrell Coast to Coast and Morency Game Time Decisions, put it on from 4 to 7 East, and then everybody else in our path. What we're doing is we're destroying them.
Total, complete, absolute annihilation.
And it's a lot of fun.
This is going to be good.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. When you turn to Rocket Mortgage, we can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so now is a great time to call 8338-ROCKET. And if you need some extra money, a cash-out refinance could give you that financial boost you're looking for. Call today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. And MLS number 3030.
This is SB Nation Radio.
And SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Shander.
Busy final hour here on the second level, as we will have not one but two very important interviews that I did over the week that I just want you to hear. If you're only listening to me on the weekends, again, 6 to 9 Eastern on Saturday and Sunday nights, you don't get the second level. You can't listen Monday through Friday, 11 to 1 What we do is try and identify the biggest, best, hardest hitting interview that we did throughout the week and give you a snippet, give you a sample of the show. And hopefully that's to reinforce a really good interview and at the same time give you a little bit of a taste of what we do on the show. So I spoke with Robert Littell from Black Sports Online. I spoke with Xavier Pope, who is a great, fantastic sports legal analyst and community activist as well in Chicago. Somebody that we speak to a lot when there comes up with legal questions and issues in the world of sports. Both men came and essentially took over the show and spoke for a while. Both interviews are a little longer because we just let them go. And that was the plan, was for me to just introduce them and for both individuals to talk from the heart and the mind about what they're seeing, about what they're feeling, and about how things have played out over the last 2 weeks or so in this country. That and just a little break of the seriousness, not that we will break far from it. There is a story out of the Bundesliga about what might be the most expensive haircut in Europe. So it's not just stay-at-home orders and quarantines and everything else. You actually have people outside of protesting violating these orders. And we have a story in Germany where one player might be on the hook for a little bit more than he bargained for when it came to a haircut. UFC, the prelims continue as we're about to see another fight leading up to the main event at some point, I think an hour or maybe two. It'll flip over to ESPN Plus, but it's still free now. So we'll keep an eye on any free fights as we roll on here at Shander Show. Twitch.tv/Shander Show is how you follow along. 800-224-2004. No bets today. No bets on the UFC tonight. I'm taking it easy. My 4-fight parlay last time got killed because the underdog upset in the heavyweight.
Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get up to a $15 gift card after mail-in rebate.
All right, I'm switching you over right now.
Thanks.
High cranking power and reserve capacity Superstart.
All right, I got you.
Yeah.
All right. I just need 6 minutes and 30 seconds for the middle segment, and then pause for a few seconds, and then give me 35 seconds for the very end.
Okay, so 6:30 and then 35?
Yes.
6:30 and then 35.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me when you're ready. Or is it on me?
Yeah, you're good to go. You're
Okay.
ready.
This is the middle segment, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2. Welcome back. At Shander Show is how you get me on Twitter, twitch.tv/Shander Show. Mentioned that we had this story coming out of the Bundesliga in Germany on Friday. So I'll read you what happened, and we kind of look at this. Professional athletes apparently can get fined for a bunch of stuff, including a haircut. And we know this because the German Soccer League leveled undisclosed fines Friday against Borussia Dortmund players Jadon Sancho and Manuel Akanji. Now, according to the league, the players violated general hygiene and infection protection standards when a local barber made a house call amid the ongoing coronavirus situation. The barber allegedly made house calls to other teammates as well. Sancho has called the fines a, quote, absolute joke, as I imagine they are. Now, I don't know what that fine is, but I can guarantee you this. It was the most expensive haircut that either one of them paid for. And this begs the question, which is, what's really going on? Is it serious enough to where you're going to get fined as a deterrent because you went out and got your haircut, but technically you didn't even go out and get your haircut. You just brought somebody in to do it. Or is it going to be the flip side where everything is precautionary, and in actuality, we probably could be out and about. We actually could be doing a bunch of things, but because we're trying to play it safe, we don't want that. It just so timed out that we have a bunch of protests around the world, and it might physically time out with you being okay to get back out in mass. And that's the problem that a lot of people see, is it's not met with the same level of coverage. I understand that. But I will say, for me personally, when you look at this rule and you look at what's happening, where teams would come down on a player for getting fined, and then they see protests. We've seen plenty of protests in Germany. Plenty. Local news here in Philly, I know the national news around the country would highlight it. Protests in other countries outside of the United States, and Germany was up there. Same country that has a spike in some other issues like hate crimes in certain areas and groups, but hey, hypocrisy is everywhere, right? Now, the thing about where the player, and I guess the other player as well, both of these guys and anybody else who was dragged into this thing, and hopefully the barber is not diming people out. Man, that would suck, right? You think, you got under the radar here. You don't have to worry about it. You're good. And then you flip around and you realize, man, he really ratted me out. Like, I was good. I had a haircut. I was good. The problem is, how do you explain that? How do you come in and explain it and say, no, it wasn't a barber. I did it myself. You have to have a history. Or maybe you shave your head. Neither of these guys shave their heads. If you're already bald, then go ahead and do it. But if not, then it's definitely going to be a factor, right? It's definitely going to weigh in. I would be pissed off right now. I'm playing a sport. I'm back. All I wanted to do was get a haircut. And you see hundreds of thousands of people around the general area in Europe, from Germany to Belgium to England, France. It doesn't matter. We've seen it. Groups in mass. And that's where frustration lies. Nobody is arguing with doctors. Nothing like that. Nobody is arguing with the medical science. We just don't know what it says yet. And I honestly believe that for something to change, the coverage of it has to change. For something to truly be different in our eyes, and for somebody to listen, man, I wanted to go out, but I didn't. You would need more than just videos on Twitter being retweeted. You would need a lot more. You would need some sort of data. We're not going to have the data yet. Not right this second. But again, it's impossible on social media to have that type of conversation. It truly is. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that if I tweeted this same conversation, it would be completely taken out of context. People would label me that I subscribe and I'm a part of a party that I've never voted for in my life. And that's both of them. All of that. Well, that's just because you... No. That's how you think. Therefore, the only way I can think is the complete opposite. I tell you, the more and more I have conversations with people that I believe, like, their general perception I believe, and their general point of view I believe in, but there are a lot of things that I have issue with. The more I have a conversation, the more I get how someone like Socrates or Plato, if you believe, created him, could be killed that easily. both sides were just so pissed off because he kept poking holes and poking holes. And they realized that they couldn't just simply put him on the other side. Well, the reason why you don't agree with me is because you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're right, you're left, you're black, you're white, you're a man, you're a woman. That's the reason why. No. The reason why I don't agree with you is because your argument's full of holes. You're making Swiss cheese arguments and you're doing nothing to avoid the obvious, which is there's a little hypocrisy in there. These players should not be fined. Not in the slightest. If anything, there should be more of a relaxation when it comes to a return to normal or normalcy. At Shander Show, twitch.tv/Shander Show. It's the second level. All right. Thanks again for riding with me. I want to thank Jack and John for producing the show. Jack, hour 1. John Belmer here, of course, for the final 2 hours. Scott Miller was fantastic, as was Bill Horrenda. And thank you to my 2 guests who joined me this past week, Robert Littell and Xavier Pope. Necessary words that you had to hear. We're back on a Sunday, so we'll have a huge UFC event to recap. And there's something going on with the NFL we did not touch on that needs to be discussed coming up tomorrow. At Shander Show, it's the second level.
All right, Aton.
Is that good?
Yeah. That's
Oh,
fine.
man.
I'm gonna cut it up. You should be good to go.